he controls 1,000 citizen journalists, and what kind of staff does he have?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I'm having trouble, with 2025 here in Lake Geauga, Northeast Ohio. So,
Well, you got 25 people. You're booming, man. I got I got myself and my imaginary friend. That's about it. But
see,
that's all I'm dealing
I
with.
have an
here.
imaginary friend too. Her name is Lily. I just can't control her. Really, she's out of control. So.
Yeah, I want to show you a story here. Cut right to this one here. Now, do you know who this guy is? That's Josh Williams. Josh Williams. He is a state representative in Toledo area. Okay. And this, by the way, is I'm getting this off the Ohio Press Network, where they do a fantastic job with this. Jack Windsor does a fantastic job. Anyhow, black Republican lawmaker calls for public apology. He is slamming Cleveland.com. By the way, how would you slam Cleveland.com? It is like the greatest newspaper on the face of the earth. I can't believe anybody would slam Cleveland.com. But he's upset.
Surely you jest, right?
Yeah.
Tongue in cheek.
The only thing I got to tell you something. It's wonderful newspaper if you have a lot of dogs. Okay, if you have a lot of dogs, it's a wonderful newspaper to have around. But here we go. Fake news. So Josh Williams is saying that the Cleveland.com is fake news. Now, why? Well, let's scroll down a little bit. Here was the signing photo. Okay. How many guys do you see back there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 guys standing, and DeWine is sitting down. This is SB1. They are signing SB1, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. They're trying to get rid of it in the public schools, all right? And it was successful. All right. Now, when you go to the article that Cleveland.com wrote, look at this. Look at this. Yeah, you got the black guy eliminated. And it says DeWine signs bill to end DEI.
I think Senator Jerry Serino, gets credit for, spearheading that. And I'm sure once he sees that picture, he wouldn't be very happy with that at
No,
all.
he wouldn't.
I'm sure.
No, Serino did a great job. I'm glad he spearheaded that. He took the initiative on that. That was a very controversial bill, SB1. The schools were fighting it. They had a lot of protesters show up at the State House. They had a lot of protesters showing up at the State House saying, how dare you do that? How dare you take the DEI out of our public schools? Well, get out of here. Who wanted it in the first place? It was the prior administration that was forcing all that on us. With Biden and, the Democrats at loony. Man, we went through 4 years of hell with Biden, okay? It was just this country was so
we should
loony.
We should have Commissioner Pletchnik on to weigh in on that SB1. I think we did, some time ago, but he was not in favor of the bill, and I think he did speak a couple times at the State House in opposition to it. So that did not, make him a lot of
I'd like to know why.
I'd
like to know why he didn't like it, but I think it's a wonderful bill. Really, really, really glad about the whole thing. But, it's just unreal. Okay, so fake news, Cleveland.com. Why would you do that? They did that to make it look like it's just a bunch of white guys signing a bill saying that they want to end DEI, indoctrination on campus and all that stuff. Terrible.
Well, we got to give Cleveland.com, some room to explain. Maybe somebody just screwed up, that. Maybe there was no ill intent at all, Joe.
Well,
I know that I've cropped some
that
pictures. I've cropped some pictures too and I looked at it. Well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So until Cleveland.com, responds to it. If they don't respond, then I guess they're guilty as charged. But I think we give them at least an opportunity to give their sign.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, you're a better man than I am. I've read too much about Cleveland.com. I would not. Oh my God, is it bad? All they do is they just bash the Republican Party again and again, over and over. Democrats do everything well. Republicans do everything bad. They hate Trump. It's disgusting.
Well, those were
newspaper.
5 Republicans there, right? That Senate Bill 1, that was not a bipartisan bill, or am I mistaken? Was that was?
I don't think it was very bipartisan. Probably, I don't think it was very bipartisan. Yeah, I think it was mostly a Republican bill. Exactly.
Yeah.
get that through. And the Republicans have the majority, almost a super majority in the state house, almost a super majority in the Senate. Okay, so the Republicans have
But you know,
that
the problem
right.
with the supermajority, Joe, the problem with the supermajority, as far as I'm concerned, is that if things aren't moving along in the state, if the state is not progressing, who are you going to blame? You can't blame the Democrats. So,
I know.
Having the supermajority means you better get some things done, in the state,
Yeah.
and you got to be number one out of the top, in the top 50. Certainly in the top 10. We're not in the top 10 in anything.
No, it's been a disgrace. But let me tell you what, I'm going to cut them a little bit of slack. I'm going to cut the whole Ohio legislature, a little bit of slack because I think it is moving in the right direction now. You got guys like Josh Williams there. We were just looking at. They're putting through bills like SB 1 with Serino. We never had this in the past. Okay, they would have never thought of
Wait
doing
a minute,
this
Joe.
in the past.
Though, let me counter that. Remember the legislators in the last 2 years talking about property taxes. They talked for 2 years and did absolutely nothing. So they are to blame for the citizens-led movement on the property taxes, and they know that the citizens are coming out in full force to eliminate the property taxes. So the legislators have only themselves to blame because they did not address the problem.
Yeah, you're
Those
right.
are the Republicans.
So we will be we'll be covering that whole thing with the properties. I'll start at 8:00. We're gonna go right into it because man, there's just the Parks and Recreations in Cleveland. They want to put another levy on the ballot. The schools want more levies. They're fuming because in the budget there's a bill thrown into the budget that caps the public schools at 25% of their operating budget. That's all they can have in surplus, which still sounds like an awful lot. So if you have a really big school system, let's say it's like Strongsville, I think it was $75 million as their operating expenses, so they can only have a quarter of that on hand, so which is like $18 million. So Strongsville would only be allowed to have $18 million on hand, which is a lot of money, but they did have like $75 million on hand, and then they were putting another levy on the ballot. And Strongsville GOP with Shannon Burns and company came out in full force, knocked it down, just struck it down twice in a row, and said we're not playing these games. They had over $75 million in reserve, and they were asking for I think another $75 million. I don't know, not $75 million, but they were asking for like $7 million or something, $10 million more. No. We don't play these games anymore.
The question I have, Joe, when I listen to them talk about the school finances, they've got a general fund, they've got a permanent improvement fund, they've got a bond fund, they've got all of these funds. So what's the 25%? Is that just the
it's operating funds?
Does that just relate to the general fund, or is that total cash? Because what they do is they move these numbers around on us. Then if a permanent improvement is supposed to be for buildings or something, they may be paying curriculum out of that.
Okay, so
that's the game they play.
Briefly, we'll talk about this, and then we can talk about it more at 8:00. But Ohio school leaders say the GOP plan for a 25% cap to trigger tax refunds could cost districts $5 billion. See, what this is interesting too, a tax refund. So what they're saying is, the Republicans are saying, is any money that you have above the 25% cap, that's the amount of money that you're allowed to carry over for your operating budget, which is mostly funded by property taxes. So they're saying you got more than 25% of an operating budget that you're carrying over. The excess has to come back to the state, and when it comes back to the state, then it goes back to the people. I don't know how you get it back to the people, though.
Yeah, don't expect
impossible.
a check. Don't expect a check from the state and or the schools, directly to your bank account.
It ain't
if
gonna
they
happen,
do anything, what they'll do is they'll reduce the amount of money that's to be collected in the future through property tax. I guess that's okay, but as far as getting a check, that'll never happen.
No, they're not that well. They're not that good when it comes to finances or anything.
Hey, there's our friend Leonard. Hello,
yeah, Leonard. How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing fine. I'm just listening in to the
And
experts. That's
Jonathan.
all.
Hey, Jonathan, how you doing, Aaron?
Hey guys,
Yeah, good to see
I
you.
just tuned in.
I know.
Just jumped on.
Just jumped on. That's fine. So we have, Sam Anthony will be joining us here in a few minutes. So go to him here in just a few minutes. And then we're also there's one other thing I do want to put on here about some of the protests and things that have been going on in Ohio, and I want to take a look at that. But here's a little clip here. I want to play something here real fast, and here we go. Listen to this.
And
a
here
little
in
bit.
Northeast Ohio as well, all over President Donald Trump's new tariff plans. The tariffs went into effect internationally overnight, and they promised to raise the cost of many goods and services immediately, with a warning by economists of a potential recession. It was scenes like this today across the country. This is in downtown Cleveland, where thousands of people converged on
It's the first time I've seen people in downtown Cleveland. That is the first time, right
Market
there.
Square to let their voices be heard in a hands-off protest against the White House trade policies. The Strongsville Square to wave flags and signs and gather support for change needed now in Washington. Some of these protesters were met with counter-protesting MAGA groups who all support President Trump's recent.
You know, I just got to say something. They were out in Strongsville, and Strongsville is MAGA country. It really is. That's the biggest Republican stronghold in the state of Ohio, Strongsville. We've had some great MAGA, flag waving and stuff going on there. So, but there are Democrats there, but I'm sure that there was a lot of pushback by MAGA supporters.
Demonstrators also showed up in downtown Columbus, waving signs and marching with traffic.
It's gone horribly. It's just we're losing all our human rights.
Okay, we're losing all of our human rights. That's why they're out there. We've lost all our human rights. What human rights did you lose? I mean, when you stop and think about it, what did you lose? What happened? If you listen to the beginning of that tape, he goes, "Oh, well, the potential of these tariffs adding all this, inflation to goods and everything." So people are coming out in all these big numbers because of the potential that there's going to be inflation. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense, okay? None of it.
I can't believe this administration has no humanity.
We'll take you to Boston now. You can see the sights. This is over 5,000 people gathering to protest.
This is a hands-off.
Okay, so we're going to finally get somebody telling us why they're there. This lady here. Why did you go there?
Protest to speak against so many of the programs that Donald Trump, the executive orders and illegal laws and other procedures that he's put into place. So it's hands-off education, it's hands-off veterans benefits, it's hands-off Social Security, it's hands-off U.S. aid, it's hands-off Gaza and Palestine. There's so many things to protest against. That's why we're all here.
Yeah, there's lots of protest against. That's what they are out
Well,
there.
Joe,
Gives
I
them
just
something
have
to
one
do.
question for you, Joe. One question. When do you think the Civil War will start, Joe? I mean, if we're so, I'm just reading the social media today, and in Lake County, they're now saying if you're supporters of MAGA, you don't believe in God. And I don't even see the correlation to that.
Yeah, I don't either.
We're such a divided nation, and Donald Trump is bringing manufacturing back, into the country, and the deep state will not let him have any wins at all. They're not allowed to make any mistakes, not even a clerical error, and the communists on the left will jump all over it.
Yeah, that's my thinking too. It's just okay. First of all, let's just analyze some of these protests for a minute. Now, I know some of these people get paid, and some of them just show up because they want to go to. It's like a party for them. I want to go protest. A lot of Democrats just love to go protest. They don't know what they're protesting. They have, like that lady was saying, USAID. She's upset about USAID getting shut down or whatever. Why? She didn't even know USAID existed a year ago, 6 months ago. Right. She never even knew that the thing existed. The Department of Education. You can't shut that down. Can't shut that down. That's just a bureaucratic waste of government time and energy. And they're The only thing that department does is say, we were going to put out the curriculum for all the 50 states. And Trump is saying, no, each state can come up with their own curriculum and stuff. But the funding for the schools is still intact, okay? When you look at Social Security or you look at the veterans or any of this stuff, they're doging it, getting away from the waste, fraud, and the abuse. That's what they're doing. But they're not cutting programs. They're making it more efficient, all right? That's what Trump is doing. That's what Musk is doing. So now all these liberals are saying that, he's a dictator. He's, this is becoming a communist country, blah, blah, blah. They really don't know what's going on. And it's obvious because they're being funneled and fueled through MSNBC and, NPR and all this crap that's out there. But they don't really know what's going on. They just don't know.
And they're not really willing to learn. They're just not, they won't listen.
Yeah, they don't want to hear it.
They've got it. I mean, I think of, my family members that, wow, they believe that the MAGA, if you believe in MAGA, you can't believe in God. And I don't even see the correlation.
No, because especially when the Democrats took God out of their platform.
Right.
They don't have God in the platform. How's it going, Jonathan? So,
hey, good. Yeah, I was just adjusting my camera. Right before you cut to me, I managed to bump my camera. It got kind of wonky. So it seems to be fairly well lined up.
Yeah, it's fine.
So here's the deal. It's we're living through a hoaxocracy. Hoaxocracy. It's hard to say. It's hoax after hoax after hoax, and the people that keep falling for them, it doesn't matter what the next thing is or the 865 things that we proved false last month and 3 months ago and 5 months ago. There's now this massive list. We've got 7 years worth of BS being fed to the public, and each new wave, they just gobble it up hook, line, and sinker. And then we work on trying to correct them and say, no, what you're being told is actually a lie, and here's why, and here's how, and here's the detail. And by the time we can organize and get the answer in front of them and show them, you're being lied to, and this is pure fiction, some new wave of fiction and lie comes along and engulfs them and then rages their brains. So again, I mentioned that book. Yes, you're right, Joe. It's a dense read. Maybe if you're listening to this, try the book on tape and just listen to the audio of Tombstone. That's that Yang Jisheng. But a big part of it is if you do a couple of things, you can control masses of people. One of them is make them hungry. If you starve people, and if you keep people constantly enraged and off balance and angry and fearful, you emotionally control. You can have a small number of people control millions of people. That's what we're seeing. These people are being constantly enraged over the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. We saw, I could go on for an hour. We saw all the things that happened around Trump. All of them create anger and rage on the part of the leftists. And they're basically emotion driven. So I'm going to paraphrase something that a friend of mine said to me. It was kind of an aha moment. I like the perspective. I thanked him. And that is, on the right, we have the underpinnings of our history, which is based upon religion. We have biblical perspective. And that's what formed the United States. That's what created the West. In India, I have great respect for many of my Indian friends, but it's a different society based on different religious beliefs. Hinduism has led to the caste system. And in the Middle East, Muslim countries organize themselves differently. And like it or not, they're based upon religion. In the United States, the absence of a religion has created a religion of its own. Our U.S. government, to some people, to a lot of people, is effectively their religion. And so when we're saying we want to take away money and funding from USAID, and we want to subtract the money flowing through these different entities and NGOs and organizations, to them, it's the same as us hearing that they're going to take money away from and defund the pastors at the pulpit and the ministers. It's really literally and emotionally and psychologically, it's the same impact for a lot of these people. I'm paraphrasing a thing that my friend said to me, but it resonates. I think that it's true. I think that after a lifetime of thinking that life is really bad, I feel fearful, I feel anxious, I feel like I am in dire need, and government is going to be the rescuer for me, for us to step in, and Doge and Musk and all that stuff, for us to step in and say that we're threatening their sense of purpose, their sense of being, their sense that they might one day find peace. That is terrifying.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
It's how badly misled these people have become.
Yeah, without a doubt. Wow. I think you're onto something there, though. I really think, it's becoming like a religion for them and everything. This whole idea of government is a religion for them. All right, I'm going to bring on our guest here. Sam Anthony is with us. Sam, how you doing out there? I see you. Let's bring you on here. How you doing, man?
There I am. Hey, Joe. How are you? Good to meet you.
Very good to see you. I think we talked, we did talk, briefly on the phone and everything like that. And so it's good to see you're out in Florida. Sunny. Is it sunny out there today? You haven't? If it is, don't tell us. I don't want to hear about it if it's sunny. I don't want to hear about good weather, okay? Forget it.
I hear you.
I'll put this up here for a second. So this is your news. So this is your platform, and it's pretty interesting. Now, I have it set here to Cleveland, Cleveland, Ohio. So, you've got some stories here of Vivek and some other stories here as well, DeWine. Okay, so something on East Palestine. So you have, let me just ask if you could maybe explain to us exactly what your platform does. I know you get a lot of citizen journalists that contribute to it, and that's interesting because we're all trying to grow our platforms. I'm trying to grow this platform, et cetera, and I'm very interested in the success and how you're doing it, and what exactly you are doing. Okay, could you?
Sure. So I'm preaching to the choir here. Everybody knows the legacy media is not going to survive, right? And a lot of people think it's because they're lying. It has nothing to do with it. That certainly doesn't help the process. It speeds it up. But at the end of the day, there's always something. There's always a product that replaces something else. And the example I always use is, the reason we don't send telegraphs anymore is because somebody created a phone. And the reason we don't get into a horse and buggy is because somebody created an automobile. So there's always a product that replaces something else. And the average age of the cable news viewer and people listening to terrestrial radio is 70 plus, Joe, and nobody's following up.
Okay, hey, stop.
Sorry, I'm that age too.
Yeah, but
I don't know what to tell you.
But I'm just saying, but with the radio, it's really no one under 70 is listening to radio, huh?
So it could be, the average age. So it could be 60 to 80, right? The average age. And this is, it's just, look. Just look at what the younger generation's doing. I mean, I have a friend of mine, we play golf every week. He picks me up on, in the morning on Saturday mornings, and he's got his phone with videos playing on it, like a Rumble video, or he's listening to podcasts. I mean, and he's 61 or 62 years old. So just look at how the younger generation consume information, Joe, right? It's there's still a demand for news. It's just the way people consume it has changed. So this is why you've seen, the legacy media with all these layoffs. I'm not making this up. I can show you on LinkedIn. I remember 10, 15 years ago, there was probably 50,000 people that called themselves freelance journalists on LinkedIn. There's almost 500,000 right now. Okay. And those are the people advertising, because most of them were part of the downsizing of the legacy media. So it's a paradigm from the old format to the digital format. And, most of the old guard is not really going to be able to survive with new media. It's going to be a paradigm with all new people. So what I am is a platform. I'm a hyper local news platform. So when you log into our site, like, Yours was set up to Cleveland.
Yeah.
But we operate in every city in the United States. By the way, select multimedia or mouse over multimedia at the top. And then select your news videos, which is the third one down. Where is it? Okay, so scroll down a little bit to make sure something else is there, because on mine, you're going to see something different. And I just want to make sure I submitted this.
We got to buy gold. Got to buy gold.
Got to buy gold. So I have this. I want you as a citizen journalist right now, which is from your Rumble page. And I'm just making sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I got
To be a citizen journalist. Let's see where
Isn't that you on your Rumble page? You want me to show you what I'm talking
multimedia?
about?
Yeah. Wait a minute. You have us on your multimedia page.
So it's for some reason you don't see it, and I don't know why, because I'm going to go to mine right now just to see if it's there.
Sure.
And if I could share it with you, I will, because it's there. Maybe it just hasn't popped up in yours yet because you have yours cached or something. But you let me know if you want me to share this, and I'll
go ahead. Let's see it.
Well, I think you're sharing now.
Give it a try. Kent, are you out there by any chance?
Let's see. All right, so I'll hit share.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so tell me if you see what I'm looking at.
No, you just can't. Oh, wait a minute. Let me cut over.
You may have to take yours down, Joe.
Yeah, you're sharing yours, Joe. That's why.
No. That's you. This
is me right here?
That's you.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mouse over multimedia, your news. And isn't this you? I want you as a citizen journalist?
Yes, that's it.
So, but I'm not just running this in Palm City. What's your zip code?
44118.
Unless for some reason it doesn't identify that, which I would find hard to believe. Multimedia, your news videos. There it is right there. Cleveland. Hasn't popped up on yours yet, I guess. These are all, I did this to show you how it works.
Okay.
But we could make a story appear to a city, a county, a market, state, regional, or national. So what we are is a news content distribution platform. I'm an aggregator. For those of you who don't know what that is, you know how people that have news will send a press release to the media?
Right.
A nonprofit, you're having a bake sale from your church, and you're in Cleveland, you're going to send a press release to the radio, TV, and print in the Cleveland area. If you live in Miami, you send it to the media in Miami. So what news organizations do is they aggregate all the information, and then they decide what they're going to air or publish. So what I am is an aggregate of everything, but I have the ability to print it all because there's no cost, and we can organize it by subject and geography. So I can make a story appear in a city, a county, a market, state, regional, or national. So obviously somebody's Little League game in Cleveland is not national news. It's sports news for the city. If it's the high school football game, it's sports news for the market. Market is defined by television DMAs. If it is the Monday Night Football game, it's sports news national. Make sense?
I think so. I think so. Okay.
Simple. So what I'm doing is taking all the country's information, bringing it all under one umbrella, and creating one uniform media. That's it. So what I just described, whoever does that is the next Rupert Murdoch of the space. Now, from news reporting, everybody's familiar with YouTube and Rumble and X, where they have monetization models. Okay?
Right.
So what I have is a monetization model for news reporters, and the way it works is a news reporter signs up on our platform. We monetize them. They write a story about the city council meeting, the high school football game, the bank robbery, the car crash, the local news, and we publish that content to the subject and geography it's relevant to. So if it's the city council meeting, it goes in politics. If it's the high school football game, it goes in sports. What they do is they share that on their social media pages to the people that follow them because they're interested in their content. And then we sell the ads, and they share in the ad revenue. Pretty simple. Make sense?
We'll find out. Does that make sense to you, Brian?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I follow
Okay,
that,
Brian.
yeah.
Brian's got his own website. It's pretty popular. It's called Lobbyists for Citizens.
Okay.
He does the podcast here with us. So he gets a lot of news stories. You get a lot of news stories that come into your platform.
Yeah, Yeah, we're primarily, though, although we do have some sources that are outside of the state, in Florida, Texas, and that sort of thing, primarily is in Northeast Ohio that we focus on. And I personally go out and record videos of, taxing authorities that people would never go to see, like, a narcotics board or Adams board, but I do get press releases from the various entities, throughout the state. But it's quite a task. Do you do this all by yourself, or do you have a staff?
No, we have a small team. We have currently on the site, in terms of news reporters, roughly 650, I think. But I've got a goal to get to about 5,000 by the end of the year. So that's when it'll really start to pick up steam. So you're talking 5,000 people that will be covering local news stories all over the United States. And the interesting part, guys, is there's 20,000 cities in the United States. So you haven't even covered anything, right? I mean, you're barely even started. I'm guessing we'll probably need, if you had 5 people a city, you're probably talking 100,000 news reporters. Certainly some cities are going to need more than others. The city of Cleveland is going to need more than 5 people, just like New York and Miami. But then there are some places where you're not going to need as many. So, I'm guessing you'll probably, by the time it's all said and done, we'll probably have in the United States, in terms of content creators, and content creators could be people that do video or audio. They could be people that are writing stories about maybe they want to be a theater critic or a food critic, or they want to do restaurant reviews. We have an art and culture section, a faith-based section. So any kind of section that the content fits, I mean, we could publish that stuff. I'm guessing we'll probably have 1 million plus content creators in just the United States. And then it's the 80-20 rule, where just like even on YouTube, you probably are going to have 20% of the people that are going to be the most active, so you probably have 200,000 people that are active on the site that are generating content and sharing it out. And you'll have a lot of people coming in to consume that information.
Hey, I got a question for you here.
That's amazing.
Okay, I got a question for you, because I was talking to a guy, Jeff Skinner. Now, he's doing something similar to what you're doing, but he might have a handful of citizen journalists, okay? But then again, he's looking most towards Ohio. But he couldn't be on tonight. I said, get on tonight. He can ask some great questions. But he did text me something. He said he wants to know how you keep the writers involved. What's the secret to keeping people engaged in citizen journalism? I guess that's what he's having a big problem with, keeping people engaged. And
well, that's where I said the 80-20 rule. You're going to have some people that are active and do it, just like on YouTube. How many YouTube channels do you go to where the last posting was 4 years ago? So, everybody wants to be on YouTube, a broadcast journalist, to make a lot of money, but the marketplace decides. So you're going to have some people that are going to be extremely active and some people that just give you something every 6 or 8 weeks. It's just the way it is. And, when you're running a platform, my product is basically Facebook for news. You've got to let these people decide when they want to, submit the content. The trick is it's mass scale, because remember, I could have millions of them because we can organize it all. So I get his question. I mean, if you only have a marketplace where you have 20 or 30 of them, you're going to have 2 or 3 that are going to be active. It's the scale that we have, because we actually are doing local news, and because there's 210 markets in probably every market in the United States right now, give or take a few.
I got a question also. Now, so I think one thing that would keep the writers engaged would be if they were paid. So is there a way to pay the citizen journalists? How do you do that?
So the way this works is the citizen journalist writes a story. Now, they have a monetized account. The way our ad model works is no different than all the tech giants. It's performance based. If your ad doesn't appear, you don't get charged. So it works the same for how we pay the journalists. The journalists, if nobody reads their article, they don't make any money. If they had 10 people read their story, they make X. If they had 100 people, it's 10 times X. So it's the future of news. Is the key to these journalists is going to be to build their social media followings, because that's where the real money is. And the younger generation understands that. They understand how YouTube works. They understand how the monetization on X or Facebook works. It's the same thing. So it's build your social media following, and then when you put out a story, even if there's only 3,000 or 4,000 people that follow you in Schaumburg, Illinois, and you're putting out the city council meeting, you're going to have 2,000 or 3,000 people reading that article. That's really what this is all about. It's just new media, and that's how new media works.
I got you. I'll go to Leonard. I'll get to you here in a second. Jonathan, you have any questions?
I do. So
Sure.
just backing up and unpacking this a little bit, I'm the follow the money guy. Started Unwoke.academy after leaving Wall Street. And one of the key components that I don't want to be lost in our conversation is the fact that in my book, and I can prove this, legacy media died a long time ago. It ran out of money. We had to change the funding mechanisms, the formula that provided revenue for media, television, news media, print media. Connected to this, I actually used to own a printing company. So all the ad revenue changed. It dried up a long time ago. We changed and allowed the U.S. media to incorporate what I call propaganda, which is highly profitable. So that then raises the question, as we see things drop off, like CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, et cetera, as people catch on to the fact that that's not actually news. My question, kind of coming from that lens, is what do you do in a vetting? How do you vet, or do you vet? Because I want to sort of, I recognize your model and there's value in it, but for somebody like me who's looking, for instance, for specific content, and I want to know that there's some truth to it as a new, refreshing alternative to years of leaning left and propaganda. Are you doing vetting as you bring in new people?
Yes. So if you're talking about the content creators, the answer is yes. However, we will get infiltrated. It's going to happen. Here's the good news. We don't fact check anything simply because the only thing a journalist has is their credibility. And the moment that they lie to the public, nobody's going to read their stuff. So the example would be if somebody goes through a city council meeting and they put up a story that's absolutely false, the public will let us know that they're lying. They will tell us, we were there, this is an out and out lie, they're completely full of it. So what we will do is then have to check to see if what they're saying is accurate. And if it is, we'll just get rid of them. It could have been a mistake, or it could be that the public is lying and that's actually what did happen. So it's the product's self-policing is what I'm saying.
I like the sound of that. And actually I'm asking because I've worked through exactly what you're talking about, endeavoring to do here a few different times. And I applaud you, what you're doing. What you're building is further along than anything else I've been invited to discuss with people. By the way, we should probably connect offline. I know some people I think would be a good fit. I've interviewed Alicia Powell. Bill Rice Jr. has now become a friend of mine. These are authors. In case you don't recognize the name, our audience, I suggest looking into Alicia Powell and Bill Rice Jr. I think they're great current contemporary journalists. But there are a couple of references that to me stand out as kind of the antithesis of where I hope you're headed. And one is LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is awful. LinkedIn is close to Facebook and censorship. And I hope, candidly, I hope that all the people that you're referencing writing on LinkedIn right now flee and come over to you in places like you. And I think you mentioned Facebook and a couple of others. And also a sidebar question, but it kind of relates. Where in Florida are you?
Palm City. It's
What's
right
that?
by Palm Beach County. So it's it's where Dan Bongino lives, Ann Vandersteel. She lives right down the street from me. So it's Martin County, which is 20 minutes north of Jupiter, Florida, which is Palm Beach County.
I know a lot of people there as well. I grew up half in Florida.
Okay.
So Sam,
Yankee that grew up half in Florida, but yeah, I guess that's it. Go ahead, Joe.
Sam, I was just going to say, just to bring a little clarity to all this. So if I'm a citizen journalist, I write a story for Cleveland or something in Northeast Ohio or whatever, I would submit it to you, and then you would post it on the Cleveland section of the website, and people could read it. Is that right?
So I'm gonna, if you want me to share my screen, I'll show you how this works.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's easy.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll show you. This is the dashboard. So when somebody submits a story, it comes in here as pending. Okay, and it looks like this. Like this would be the form that you would have. So what we have the ability to do is run things to a market. So in Cleveland, hopefully see it says Cleveland, Akron, Canton. And by the way, I'm going to show you where I got that from. Bookmarks. Hold on. TV. This is your TV DMA map. It'll pop up in a section, but I just want you to grasp this because it's how we live today. So if it's a bank robbery or the high school football game, it's going to run right here. You see the map, Cleveland, right here?
Yeah.
So I don't know, what is there, a dozen, 15 counties? You know, what does that say? Erie, Lorain, Cuyahoga. It's all these different counties is one market. Then there's Columbus market. There's Toledo, Detroit. So we could run something to a market. If I wanted it to run to Chicago, you just type in Chicago. They're all preloaded in the system. So it'll go to the market. Now, if you wanted a story to go to Ohio, let's say the governor of Ohio signs bill into law. I just have to find Ohio. Here you go. Well, there's all the zip codes for the state of Ohio. So if I click the word add, it will assign what I'm doing to the state. So if it's the governor's story, it's going to run right here. It's going to in the politics section. If you wanted to go more granular, what county are you in?
I'm in Cuyahoga. These guys are in Lake and Geauga.
Yeah, I'll just click. So there's Cuyahoga. So if I wanted to go to Cuyahoga, I just hit add. And then I could add another one if I wanted to. So I could make 1, 2, or 3 of them. And by the way, all the citizen journalists could do this too, right? Within their dashboard, they have a market that they're assigned to, and they can move content wherever the hell they want. Then you have a city. So are you in, give me a city. I know you're in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, Cleveland.
Well, let's do something smaller. Like
Sure.
What does it say? Broadview Heights? That's
Okay.
only got 1 zip code. The hell with that. Let's go something a little bit bigger than that. That's got 1 zip code too. Got anything that's got like 10? Maple Heights has 1. These are all little cities surrounding, right? Strongville.
Yeah, typically,
1.
those are all going to be suburbs that probably have 1, maybe 2.
Well, then we'll
Midfield
do
Heights,
Cleveland.
maybe?
Hold on. So here's Cleveland, which looks like there's about 30 of them. Okay, so if it's the city council meeting in Cleveland, it goes in politics. Notice I'm checking it. If it's somebody's little league game, it's going to go in the sports section. So we assign it to the subject and geography, and then the ads work the same way. So if somebody sells sports memorabilia, they don't want to be around political content. They want to be around sports content. So it matches the ad with the content. That's it. And then for advertisers, do you see all these zip codes here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm removing a bunch of them, but they could actually buy an ad and target it. I'm just going to make this 1 zip right here. I can make an ad appear in 44199. That's scale. So ads are on a best bid basis, but the advertiser himself, this is like Valpak. They could target to 1 zip code and everywhere in between. It doesn't matter. They could pick 1 zip code here, and then they go to Chicago and pick another zip code. Maybe it's a financial planner, and he wants high net worth zip codes, and he wants to advertise in like 30 places around business and golf stories. That's how it works. So it's hyper targeted, hyper focused content. And, you know, that's why I said we can make a story appear at a city, county, market, state, regional, or national, which is how the world works today. So just think of me today as like USA Today with all the local papers wrapped inside.
Yeah.
And then the local content comes.
I had a quick question for you. Okay, so we're trying to do a lot more live streaming, myself and somebody else. So we're trying to get out and do more live streaming. I don't know if that's something that you have capabilities of putting that on. Do you have capabilities of putting a live, live stream on your paper? I know that you do video, but that's got to be uploaded and everything. So this would be just
but it's the embed code from YouTube or Rumble, Joe. So right now you and I are live on my site. Okay. So we're absolutely live. Wendy Bell goes live every morning on your news.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
actually, this show could go on your news. We're
Yes.
on there right now, I guess.
you are absolutely
We're
on there right now.
Okay, that's cool. That's
I
cool.
can make it go to Cleveland. I can make it go to the state. And you guys sounds to me like you're doing more state stuff. So we'll run all your stuff to the state of Ohio. But right now it's running national. It's in every zip code.
Excellent. So, okay, well, that's interesting. That's kind of interesting. Let me get Leonard in here. Leonard, do you have a question? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Jonathan Jonathan hit my question, the vetting. First of all, thank you, Mr. Anthony, for spending time with us. It's great information. And
My pleasure.
as far as the vetting, I mean, I can understand that process because I can understand the mechanism that you have to use to do that, which is best to let the actual citizens or the people that are educated make that assessment. But now, on your platform, do you have places for op-eds? I know you have politics in there, but is it strictly just stories, or
Mouse
people
over
putting
national
op-eds?
news, you'll see opinion, both national and local. So yes.
Okay,
that's
great. Okay,
Opinion editorials.
okay, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, and just to clarify one thing, when I'm talking about live streaming, I'm talking about, like, let's say covering a town hall event live as it happens, not necessarily going through this live view, or I mean, we'd be using live view, but not going through vMix, what we're doing right now, or Zoom.
Okay, so on our technology today, we use Rumble or YouTube or BitChute or whatever the streaming platforms are, and they have embed codes, so they can embed those codes into us so we can stream it. But we're not doing that streaming, but at some point we will. No question.
No, I got you. It would go through probably Rumble or something like that. It sounds like it could be done, which is interesting. Yeah, it's another platform. Anything? Any other thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. We probably should, think about that, Joe. As far as monetizing, we haven't done that at all with Lobbyists for Citizens. It's really just been trying to get the news out there that people won't get from the newspapers, and but it cost us money to do it, and just like Ohio Political News, it's costing you and Kent to pull this all off. So we should come up with some sort of revenue stream that helps us at least offset our operating costs to get the truth out to the people.
No question about it. I mean, look, that's the whole premise of this product. I mean, really, at the end of the day, we already know the legacy media has been lying through their teeth. So ultimately, what we're doing puts the power of the press in the hands of the people where it belongs. What we do is completely decentralize and democratize the news business. Okay, that's the most important thing. Everybody has seen the Sinclair Broadcasting videos with the 20 or 30 TVs all saying the same thing at the same time. I know you guys have seen them. Okay, that's called centralized news. We all know it's coming from it's got government influence and it's got advertiser influence. Like Pfizer, any of the healthcare companies. So all that stuff's going to be gone, and what's going to replace it is going to be a platform where you have public participation. All of the major sites that get all the traffic are what? They're social media platforms. So what I am is a social media news platform, allowing the public to actually have a voice and share in the narrative locally. A monetization model for news reporters where they could share in the ad revenue, and a self-service ad platform where Joe's Pizza could buy an ad and drill down to one zip code, which you just saw. That's what we have. So what I do is inevitable, guys. It's going to happen whether I do it or not. If I shut this down, there's still a void that needs to be filled, and somebody's going to fill that void. So what you want is somebody that's going to do it that has a free speech platform, that's not looking to censor people, that wants the people to be able to have a voice. And that's where we come in, because God, I've been doing this for a long time, but now the whole world's coming my way. Everything's getting easy. I mean, I have influencers now that are calling me saying, how do we get on here? The next one I pick up is somebody that's kind of big, that's got about 1.5 million following, So what'll happen is when they submit an article, they're going to share it to 1.5 million people. Some of them people live in Cleveland. Some of them live in Miami. Some of them live in Phoenix. Some of them live in Chicago. The point is, imagine having 500,000 people submitting content to this thing, and they're all driving traffic to their own content. Well, people that I might come here because I'm looking to read my kid's Little League game, but then next thing you know, I live in Cleveland, and what's this stuff going on here that you guys are providing? See what I mean? So what I do is going to happen no matter what. So what we're doing is capitalizing on a void that the legacy media is filling by laying everybody off. And by the way, when you ask me about vetting people, I'm just letting you know, for the most part, I'm not going after the old guard. Most of the people I'm bringing on are student journalists. They're people that are in school and that are studying journalism. To me, they were not part of the problem, number one. Number two, they can be trained properly. And I believe those are going to be your next local news reporters. They're going to be covering all the stuff locally that matters to the American people in that market.
That's 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me throw you on there. Go ahead. Fire away.
All right, so my first has to do with ad revenue. If you're not already doing this, I consider it a suggested idea.
Okay.
Do you offer ad revenue bumps to people that bring in advertisers? For instance, let's say you get somebody like us or our group, and we sign on, we start contributing content. We're content creators now, and maybe we bring in a chain of oil change places or something. Is there value to us to do that for you? And
Sure.
My next question is, do you offer add-on services for people? You mentioned student journalists. Do you offer any editing services or those kinds of things?
We don't offer any editing services. What I am going to be offering, by any chance, do you guys know who Alex Newman is? New American,
Yeah, I know
editor
Alex.
of the New American. You know Alex?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Alex is right now on my advisory board. When he saw this, he said, "Look, how do I want to create the journalism ethics for your news." So he's now in the process of doing that. But the second piece is he wants to do training for all the student journalists, which I've always known I need. Look, guys, I'm not a journalist. I run a platform, so it's not what I do. But Alex is a journalist. He's a real journalist. So Alex, at some point in the very near future, once he gets finished with what he's doing, is going to we're gonna because I have an email database of the hundreds of student journalists we have. So I'm gonna start sending emails to them saying we're gonna have Alex Newman on. He's gonna talk about whatever on this Zoom link. If you'd like to join, it'll be today at 7:00 or whatever it is, and then people can join that thing. He's like, Sam, I don't ever want to be in the mess we're in today. He said, I believe what you're doing is going to replace the legacy media. So how can I be part of this and make sure I put my fingerprint on it to where, we teach these people how to become real journalists. At the end of the day, here's the good news. There's going to be no censorship on this website. So if you have a story, it's going to run. And normally the way the news business works is you have to bring that to the editor, they bring it to a review board, and that's why you have stories like the Jeffrey Epstein story getting squashed, the one with Amy Robach. She couldn't report on it simply because somebody made a phone call and said, you're not going to run that story. In our case, everything runs. So if it's remember, you take responsibility for your own stuff. We're just the vehicle for distribution. So we don't say what you're saying is truthful or not. So it's up to you to make sure you're putting out the truth. But like always, the cream's going to rise to the top. So anybody that's lying to people is going to be ousted right away or outed right away. And the people who are actually doing good work are going to be the ones that are rewarded. So yeah, and on another note, if you guys have advertisers you want to bring to the table, you can get paid on.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very good. So I think this would warrant a discussion probably after the podcast. Sometime we should all get together. Like I said, Jeff Skinner has got he's got a platform where he is trying to bring in citizen journalists. I'm sure he would be very interested. I'm sure Brian's interested. I'm interested. I think we're all interested. We can move forward with this and see how it all works out.
Oh God,
stuff,
yeah.
So.
I mean, exactly. I mean, there's power in numbers, right? If somebody's pulling on one end of the rope by himself, they're not going to have as much luck as if you have 10 guys grab the rope. So once you guys truly grasp what I'm doing, make no mistake about it. What I do will become the next mainstream media. 100% chance. It's, it needs proper capitalization like anything else. It needs proper marketing. You need to build a proper team around it. But at the end of the day, this is no different than, any of the tech giants, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon. I mean, all of them started from nothing, and they were spawned and they grew into behemoths. Also, this is not just going to be US based. Like right now, I'm in the process of opening up Canada, so we'll have a Canadian version. But then once we get big enough, we can open up the UK. I mean, there's 180 countries we've identified that we can go into. So there's over 2 million journalists on LinkedIn that call themselves freelance journalists across the globe. So there's a massive void that needs to be filled. And as we start expanding and growing, we can start opening up other countries and doing the same thing. So I'm a firm believer that the future of media is going to be a global news platform with a social component where the public can interact and share in the narrative, and a monetization model for news reporters, and zip code targeted ads where Joe's Pizza can target one zip code. It's everything I just told you already exists on other platforms, just nobody's doing it around news.
Yeah, I see where it's going to be beneficial for the small advertiser, because right now when you go on social media, it's hit or miss. If you're a pizza place, you need to target a very small area. That's where the people are going to come, and et cetera, et cetera. All right. Well, Sam, thanks a lot. What we'll do is let's get together again next week sometime. Let's just do a Zoom call privately. Let's talk about this and try to get this off the ground.
Yes, bring everybody with you so I could do a whole demo with you guys, show you how this works, because you guys might see more here than what we have, right? I mean, you guys might want to be part of it. I mean, we have ways that people could be editors in specific markets. That Cleveland market could have an editor that controls everything.
Yeah, and we're all in Cleveland. Well, I mean, we're all in Northeast Ohio. So, let's talk. Let's brainstorm on it. It sounds exciting.
I love it, guys. Thanks for having me on, Joe. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sam.
And by the way, if you guys want to create accounts so you could see how this works, when you get a chance, go to Your News and go to the bottom of the page. It'll say Become a Citizen Journalist. Click it. If you scroll down, there's an application. Just takes two minutes, fill it out. That's the vetting process. So that comes to us. We look at it and we see who it is. We look at their social media pages, make sure it's not somebody crazy. Most of them are students, sports journalists, or that are coming. Yeah, scroll down to the bottom, pull it down. Left-hand side, you see it says, middle. It says become a citizen journalist or be a citizen journalist down there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, click that. So there's 2 videos here. One is obviously me speaking. The other one is Ariana. We created something for the student journalists, and I think it's a very compelling message. And just a little bit further down, there should be an application right there. You just fill this out. Comes into us, we activate it. Now you guys can see what you're actually looking at, which is what I have. That's it.
Fantastic. All right. So anybody watching, go to Your News. Is that yournews.com? Your News. You go to yournews.com and check it out. Yeah, great. All right, Sam, thanks again, man. Really appreciate it. We'll be talking soon, okay? Thank you.
Yes, Joe. You got it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.
So, Joe, just an open comment. I actually didn't know Sam's connection to Your News before we jumped on, but I saw as soon as I saw the website. I've actually looked at Your News before. This happens to be an area that I'm keenly interested in. And I've done a fair amount of research and talked to a lot of people about it, and I'm pretty impressed with your news. I was aware of it before tonight's conversation. They're probably ahead of most anybody else out there. Good platform, and just like he was saying, I completely agree. I'm going to chime in with Sam and say that's the direction the world is headed. I am absolutely convinced of that. The people that I've talked to, the research that I've done points absolutely in the direction of Your News or something like it. So if you're not already looking in that direction for news sources, I suggest checking it out. There's some people that publish on Substack. I'm one of them. There are a handful of other ones. but your news should be on your radar.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what we will do is we will have a private Zoom call, and all of us, I'll get Skinner on and everybody else, and we'll talk to him and see what we can do with teaming with him. And anybody who's watching this podcast, go to yournews.com. Check it out if you're a citizen journalist or want to be. Or contact us. Another thing, there's so many different avenues. People can work with us with news because we want to expand as well. And at the same time, we can funnel that on to your news. It's everybody working with each other so we can all grow. That's what I see.
Yep.
All right, Kent. That ain't going to work. Are you out there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, I had a. That was a great interview. Definitely support us at ohiopoliticalnews.com. /shop, or go just to the shop. You can also support us with the support button. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, or like us on Facebook. Follow us on Rumble. Subscribe on YouTube. Also follow on X. So definitely make sure you go to all of our social media platforms, because that's where the media is going to be at, and so exactly what Stan was saying tonight. I think this is the new media, and that's what we're trying to do. Also, like Joe was just saying, contact Joe at ohiopoliticalnews.com if you have any time that you want to come on as share anything that you're doing. We will be going out. I know Brian's been going out. Leonard live streaming a lot of stuff. So we'll be doing as much coverage as we can. So, but definitely check it out and support us. We do. It does cost money to do this. So please support us in any way you can. Especially on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook. Lend us a couple stars. That would be great. We're going to try to get to 500 stars for the month. Start small and work our way up, but we can receive stars now on Facebook, which is great. So thank you. Facebook is really growing right now. It's really a great place to be, on top of Rumble and YouTube and X. But we are trying to monetize in any way we can, so thank you.
Yeah. So it's Joe at ohiopoliticalnews.com, or Kent, Kent at ohiopoliticalnews.com. Where's that Ramaswamy shirt at for a minute? Do you have that?
Right here.
The tsunami Ramaswamy, where is it?
Right there.
Can you enlarge it?
It's coming up. Yeah, I'm going to try.
The reason I want you to show this is because I want to get you guys' opinion on something, not necessarily the
All right, if
hoodie.
I can open it, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try to get it.
It's not letting
Come
you
on.
enlarge it, huh?
Yeah, it's not letting you.
All right.
All right. Well, Kent works on that.
Put it in with-
Kent, you work on
Okay,
that,
go
and
ahead.
I'm going to interject something, and that is when you find us on those social media platforms like Facebook, I want to ask a favor of you, and that is we, of course, are conservative, or I'll speak for myself. I am conservative and lean to the right, and I seek truth. What I'm finding is the left work on emotion, and they'll say things like they'll refer to outlets like Ohio Political News as fill in the blank. It's all name calling to me. Those guys are jerks or whatever. I expect to find a fair amount of that. I'm counting on you, our watching and listening audience, to counter that with some truth. Where I see it, I like to ask the question, what is it that you feel that we may have said that was untruthful? Is there something that we said that was not truthful? It's the battle that we face right now. It's just, like it or not, this is where we are with our battles with the left. They want to use name calling and smear tactics to get people to ignore things like Ohio Political News. That's their objective. If they say those guys are yucky, they're hoping that new people that venture in and find us on Facebook will look at the reviews and say, oh, they must be yucky, I'm not going to listen to them. It's up to you to give good stars and give good reviews, and then we'll chase after the trolls and ask them, what specifically do you not like about Ohio political news? Because if it's that you disagree with our opinions, then your negative review is inappropriate, because we can disagree respectfully. Hopefully that makes sense. I am asking for people to leave positive reviews and help us to challenge the trolls.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just want good.
Okay.
Give us 5-star reviews and just say how much you like the show. Listen, a couple of things here I want to just delve into. Let's go. I got a couple news stories, and we're going to talk about, move into some of the property tax stuff. But a couple of things. First of all, Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown. I want to get you guys' opinion real quick. Yes, no, because I got a few of these. Okay, so just tell me yes or no. Sherrod Brown, is he going to be running either for Senate, U.S. Senate, or for the governor of Ohio? What do you say, Brian?
Strictly, he's definitely running. I can say that. That's in his blood. And I think I'm going to say he's going to go for the governor's spot.
Governor's spot. What do you say, Jonathan?
Sherrod Brown for prison.
For what?
Prison.
That's not what.
Prison? Okay. That's going to be one of them. Leonard, let me just ask you also real quick here. If Sherrod Brown, do you think he's going to run?
Yeah, it'll be for governor.
Okay, here's a second question
What's
I
the
have
joint?
now. The second question I have as far as governor goes. We know that Ramaswamy, I call him the tsunami. Is it too early for the Ohio Republican Party to endorse Ramaswamy for governor? What do you say, Brian?
I'd endorse him right now.
Okay.
We need new blood in the state capitol.
Endorse him right now
It
and don't
can't just be more of
waste
the
any
same.
time. Jonathan.
No, too early. I've said this before, and I'm going to quickly interject again. I don't see any problem or issue with Yost in his positions. I personally wish that Dave Yost had more oomph. I wish that he had more ability to stand up to the swamp in Columbus. But really, if we're honest about Dave Yost, when you look at what he's done, the suits that he's filed, the things that he's put Ohio in, I've said this before, and I don't care if it's popular or not. I like Dave Yost. I actually like his positions on things. So I think that the Ohio political party, the Ohio Republican Party, I think they should wait. Or did they endorse? Whatever. I can't remember. They should actually wait and give it more time for this for the political circus to sort of subside and get into the meat of the campaigns.
Yeah, give it a little more time. I see what you're saying. Now, here's the claw back to that is Trump has already come out and endorsed Ramaswamy. We have a lot of state lawmakers who have endorsed him, like Frank LaRose, Robert Sprague. There's a long list of state reps that have endorsed him already. And probably J.D. Vance. I don't know if he has or not, but he will be, I'm sure. So does it make sense to keep putting that on hold, or do you just like the fact that maybe that we could have a primary where iron sharpens iron, make him win the primary? So is that what your thinking is on that, or what?
I would like to see, personally, I'm most interested in Yost and Ramaswamy because, I want to speak for a moment. I'm trying to just stay, so I'm clear about my position. I'm trying to stay neutral for as long as possible on both and just observe to formulate my opinion better. But let me play devil's advocate for a moment and step in on the side of Yost. With Yost, he has a political background, and we can look at his actual behaviors and vote and what he's done in office. We don't have that advantage with Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy sounds very good at the pulpit. He's a great speaker. But we have really nothing to go on that's concrete as to how he'll act in office. That concerns me a little bit. It doesn't, again, I want to clarify, I'm not saying one side or the other, or vote for one and don't vote for the other, but I am weighing both carefully. And in that regard, I think people who are jumping to throw Yost out are jumping way too soon and not actually paying attention to the things that I like to look at, which is what did he actually do while he was in office? And I can see the track record of his political behaviors. And candidly, as I said before, I like most all of it.
Last thoughts. What's your thoughts on that, Brian? Should we get him in now? Should we wait? Tell me, in light of what Jonathan just said, any thoughts?
Well, Jonathan certainly has got his own opinion. We all have
Right.
opinions on that. Doesn't mean right or wrong. It's just an opinion, just like mine is.
Well, what about the opinion then? Let me just ask you this: what about the opinion that Ramaswamy has no political experience? Is that a problem?
Well,
in judging what he
is that
says,
a plus? Well, I just look at where the state of Ohio is right now, and what we have is we have a bunch of Republicans that keep changing seats. It's all the same guys, and what have they really done? Are we in the top 10 of the states in the country? No, we're not. We're down on the bottom. What have they done from the all of them? The LaRose, the Sprague, Yost, DeWine. What have they done for Ohio? Please tell me. What makes us in the top 10 states in any area? We've gone down.
Not that I'm aware of. And actually, I'm sorry to do it, but I'll actually piggyback that. And I'm really going to drive some people nuts with this comment. But I could actually argue the opposite of the point that I just made. So this is where you start to get into weighing politics. And I wish more people took the time to do this and think through the politicians that they actually vote for. I don't say this to confuse people, although it might. I say this to get people thinking. I want to sort of tickle that inspiration to look carefully at our politicians and what they do. So I said earlier that we have a track record, and it's pretty good. It's actually very good in policies and behaviors from Yost. But the thing that we don't have from Yost is Yost's ability or inclination to stand up against the swamp. And so to Brian's point, he's going to be in the same swamp and the same people all around him with that musical chairs. And from that vantage, I don't see any background in Dave Yost showing the spine and the wherewithal to stand up to those people and tell them no. For instance, during mandates and those kinds of things, the edicts from DeWine's office, I don't see Yost as the type of person to get in there and pound the podium and tell people no and raise his voice and have the spine to stand up against that mob cabal, the swamp in Columbus. So yes, I'm kind of reversing myself a little bit, or arguing the counter, but I think it's important that we do those kinds of things in this analysis. And that goes back to answering Joe's question. It's unreasonable, I think, at this point for the Ohio Republican Party to endorse, because all of these questions we should be pushing as hard as we can, asking the really difficult questions in the room with one or both of them to try to find the answers and get them public. It's way too early to say, well, I like this thing that somebody said a long time ago, so therefore they seem really cool and I'm going to prepare to get everybody to vote for them. I think waiting is the smart thing to do. Give us more time to vet these guys and ask them the hard questions.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, I think,
a lot of people feel
Jonathan,
that way. A lot of people feel that
Can
way.
I add in there? Leonard and I have talked about this. we need to better vet the candidates, whether they're for the state office or local office.
Yep.
Be they running for judge or auditor
Yep.
or anything like that. We just, is he a nice guy? We need to find out, where do they get their basic principles? Where do they get their, the morality of right and wrong? That sort of thing. But if you've got a track record in the state office, for 20 years, what makes me think that you're going to be any different than you were for the last 20 years? So
No, you're not going to be.
But
You're not going to be.
vetting candidates is going to be extremely important.
Yeah. Well, let's look at this real quick, the musical chairs thing, okay? So you have Dave Yost. So Yost was the Attorney General. And before that, he was, I forgot what he was before that, but he was a statewide candidate. You have LaRose, Frank LaRose, who was Secretary of State. Now he's going for auditor. You have Robert Sprague. Sprague was, what was Sprague?
Sprague Congress? I think it was in
No,
state
well,
Congress.
he
It was
well,
the
didn't he
state
just
house.
have I thought he had a state position,
Yeah,
a statewide position. What was he doing? He was he the auditor, and now he's running
Yeah, he's
for
the
treasurer.
auditor, yeah.
Okay, he's the auditor. Now he's running for treasurer.
Oh,
And
maybe I'm
then of course, and
remembering
then you have
before that.
Faber. Faber was
Oh,
Keith Faber is what is he? Is he the auditor right now?
He's the auditor.
And he wants to be. What is he running for? He's running for another position. Keith
I think
Faber.
we should chart this. Remember that
I
cool
have the
chart
chart.
that
I
Matt
couldn't
Urbis
find
made
it. But,
for
but
us?
the bottom line is you got everybody who's exactly the same running for another position, swapping chairs.
Yeah,
That's what we have. And it drives me nuts.
musical chairs.
Crazy. And that's enough. I can't take it anymore, all right? You can't have the five same guys hop over here, and this guy hops here, and this guy hops here, and then we had Husted in there. Now he hopped up to the Senate. He better win, too. He better pull it out and win. Oh, boy.
Joe,
You better pull it out.
you
All right, let's
see
talk
your blood
property.
pressure, Joe. Really.
Yeah, let's
Watch
talk
your blood
property
pressure.
taxes. Property taxes. Oh, you got
That's
something to
not
say,
gonna
Leonard?
help
Go
your
ahead.
blood pressure,
Okay.
Joe.
What's up, Leonard?
Well, for me, I'm not impressed with David Yost, nor am I impressed with Vivek. Vivek has changed gears on a number of things he's stated publicly, and now he's jumping on the bandwagon with other things that he thinks are going to help push him through. David Yost, I've never heard him invoke the 10th Amendment since he's been in that position, and I've seen plenty of times he's had an opportunity to do it. As Jonathan said, he's not going to push back. So with what's happening in our state right now and the significant changes that we need, I just don't see him in the fight. That's just me. And Vivek, like I said, I don't know where he stands. He talks a good game, but every time I see him, he kind of changes things a little bit. Every time, changes the tune, and so I really don't know where he stands. So that's where I am on both of them.
Okay, very good. Yeah, no, it's good. I want to get everybody's opinion. I want to get your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. And believe me, everybody's opinion, there's a ton of people who think exactly the way you do. All right, let's go to some property
The city
taxes
just
here.
released its first Parks and Rec master plan in decades, calling for major investments in some neighborhoods and much better upkeep in services
Parks and Recreations wants to put a levy on the ballot, Brian.
with limited cash.
It's clear the city's going to have to make some tough decisions. That could include closing some recreation centers like this one in Glenville.
We are looking at closure recommendations very cautiously and carefully. What we know is that our services are underfunded and we need to
Underfunded. They don't have enough property taxes.
find creative ways
Yeah, like the schools.
to try and meet our funding needs.
Consultants suggested a levy, a new city tax for parks and recreation, something Conwell and other council members balked at this week.
I don't know where I'm at with any more levies because people are trying to survive.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so finally, a voice of reason. He's a councilman. I think he's a city councilman from Cleveland. Anyhow, people are trying to survive. We cannot put more levies on the ballot. And what is that all about anyhow? So whenever they have a problem, a funding issue, it's the only solution is just to go to the citizens with a levy and bring more money in.
Yeah, they love the property taxes because it's a definable amount. They know exactly how much is going to come in, and I wonder if the Cleveland Metro Parks, I wonder if they've got any additional money because of the revaluation. I don't personally know if they have any inside millage on that, but that's happening. Metro Parks have got this is Lake County Metro Parks got $30 million in cash. And they got $400,000 because of the revaluation, and wouldn't give any of it back to the people. So I'm not surprised. We're on an unsustainable sustainable trajectory with these property taxes, and they are pricing people out of their homes. And Leonard and I and many others in the state are fighting the property taxes. We will be sending, I would say, in a month, to the Attorney General our first pass at constitutional amendment to eliminate the property taxes. Yeah. And we are finding a lot of people in the state, throughout the state, from Cleveland to Cincinnati and from east to west, that they are supporting us.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't? All right, one other cut here tonight.
We are.
Do you guys recognize this guy, Dave Thomas, out of Ashtabula?
Essentially,
it's our friend Dave Thomas.
To have a flat rate.
Now, this is slightly different. This is for the libraries. The libraries don't have enough money. They just don't have enough money.
Amounts moving forward, that's roughly at the same percentage. That would be in fiscal year 26, $485 million.
Trumbull County stands to lose upwards of at least $1 million.
There's a whole new way that they want to do this. They want to give them a flat amount. It would be $485 million this coming budget year, and then it would go to $495 million next year. It's an increase, but not a big enough increase for the libraries.
In library funding annually.
We've had years where there was an estimate of a certain number, and actually the revenue came in at $30 or $40 million less. And so libraries said that we cut them that time too, but really it was just actually because it was a percent, it was much less than what was estimated. So having a flat amount, having a line item actually secures their funding moving forward, and it makes it much more stable for them to be able to budget themselves.
It actually does not help us. It's more of a benefit for us to be given a percentage, and when the economy grows, it does better for us.
It does better for them. So as long as the economy grows, brings in more money.
Yeah, Leonard and I were wondering, maybe the libraries now they should be financed based on fees. If you want to go to the library, you're going to be charged an annual fee to use the libraries. And they may not be this socialist, communist, well, everybody's in for the libraries. Well, if I don't use the library, why should I be paying for it?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Any thoughts on that, Leonard?
Yeah, Brian's right. The whole government is involved in things it shouldn't be involved in. And so when you get back to the reality here, a lot of things that we're looking at are basically can be considered as a usage. Okay, so there are certain organizations that I join right now, and I pay for those because I use them. And that makes sense. Now, if that organization comes up short, there are people that are willing to chip in if they see the benefit, but nobody's forced them to do it. So that tells you right there, if there's value there, people will invest in it. So that whole nonsense about trying to set aside taxation for a particular purpose when there's no essential feedback as to what good is doing for the community or what it's serving, the purpose that it's serving, you're just throwing away money for no reason at all, and you're just sucking the life out of the county that people are living.
That's good. Okay, just to preface this real quick, this is House Bill 96, and originally Governor Mike DeWine had a budget proposal where he was giving him 1.7% last budget. Now he's going to give him 1.75%. Okay, so he's constantly, this is the way DeWine operates, he constantly gives them more and more every budget. Okay, so we have some lawmakers in there now that want to doge Ohio. They're saying this is too much. Okay, too much. We're going to give you a flat fee, $485 million. And they're like, they're shaking in their boots. No, under DeWine's plan, we were getting like $500 million or even more.
Mm-hmm.
So they're, this is the problem. It's not that they're slashing. If you read some of the articles like on Cleveland.com, they'll say, the legislators want to slash the budget for the libraries and stuff. Nobody's slashing anything. All they're doing is giving you less of an increase, okay? That's not slashing.
Yeah, but I think Jennifer Gross told us that.
What?
Joe, when Jennifer Gross was on a few weeks ago, she was saying that they always say they have a balanced budget. But the problem is the balance is always higher than the previous year. So now we, 100 billion or whatever the number is. But as you said, it's not that they're cutting back from previous years. It's just not as large an increase as they wanted.
Well, that's exactly what's happening with the libraries too, though. The libraries are not being slashed. Their budget is not being slashed. It's actually being increased. It's just not getting as big an increase as they want. Same thing with the schools. If you read any of the articles like in Cleveland.com, don't read Cleveland.com, but if you happen to accidentally gaze upon it, you'll see that they're saying school budget being slashed. That's a very big misconception. The school is getting more money than it did last budget. It's just not as much as they were hoping to get, okay? So that's the game we're playing here. But the lawmakers are trying to doge Ohio to some respect. They are trying to rein it in, okay? Some of the spending is just out of control. And when you have a governor like DeWine, there is no such thing as reining in or doging Ohio, reining in the taxes, the budget, or anything like that. It's always an increase.
Right.
That's got to stop.
I don't have any details, Joe, but I have been told from elected officials, they talk about a doge, and that's really what Leonard and I and our group are really doing with the elimination of property taxes. It's a doge because we've been told without property taxes you don't need a treasurer or an auditor. And can you imagine how many millions, tens of millions will be saved at the state level? But the other thing that we found out when we were talking to Timberlake Mayor John Mara is it fair the way that we are funding police, fire, and roads, tying it to someone's house? That doesn't seem to be a fair and a impartial way of charging. Everybody knows we're agreeing that you have to pay for police, fire, and roads, but shouldn't it be on a per person basis or a not to value of the house?
Yeah, you don't want to be giving up the house. Absolutely not. Jonathan, any thoughts before we wrap it up tonight? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thought is I forgot to hold up my mug earlier and point out how delicious my beverage is in this spectacular mug. You should buy one. So there's my product placement. I support this show by buying the merch. As far as Doge goes, I've made this point before, and actually to some of my friends that are involved, and I have great respect for a number of our representatives in Columbus. So, believe it or not, we actually do, including Jennifer Gross, we have some good, solid representatives in Columbus, but working within that system to try and make the deep cuts that are really necessary is next to impossible. So I'd prefer if we find a way to do it from the outside, like is being done with Elon Musk. We'd have to find a way to get that done in Ohio to really doge. But to Brian's point, I think the spotlight on property tax is forcing the issue, which is awesome. But here's a perspective for you. We get into this whole the library and the metro parks and all that stuff. What we're doing, I think, very successfully in the conversation around schools and education is looking at the value that children are getting or lack thereof and the cost per pupil. We can pull all of that from state of Ohio. So now we have 38th place education, 38th out of 50 of all 50 states in the U.S. where we've now dropped to near the bottom of the barrel of developed nations at about the highest cost per pupil. So figure some schools are north of $40,000 per pupil. I'm just going to ballpark an estimate of, let's call it $17,000 per pupil per year. That conversation resonates with people. They can get their head around that we're not educating children. We've got about 30% literacy rate for $40,000 per year. Put that in perspective. Figure $40,000 per year is about a Ford. A $17,000 is a small Kia. We're buying a Kia for kids, for every student in the state every year, and we're not getting anything good out of it. We're not getting what we should be in the education realm. So let's extrapolate on that. We now have this statewide conversation taking place about what are we getting and what are we spending in education. Now, let's apply that to libraries. What's it cost us per book? Let's apply that to the metro parks. What's the cost per acre? Let's apply that to the roads. What's the cost per mile? As soon as we do that, I'm certain we're going to find exactly the same thing we're seeing in schools. Dramatic, vast overspending. When you cut to me, I was actually looking for an article. I can't find it right now, but there's actually a dust-up happening in, I think it's Minneapolis, where they've discovered that the director of their food bank has just resigned. She was forced to resign. She was being paid $760-some thousand per year, over $750,000 per year, to be the president of the food bank, which brings me to the Cleveland Food Bank. I think that's taxpayer funded, I'm pretty sure, or mostly is. She also is in a dust-up because apparently she allowed this. This is a side note. Anyway, you should probably look up the article that is stemmed from something that happened in the Cleveland Food Bank. My point is, we have all of these organizations, and there are tons of them all over the state of Ohio that are dramatically inefficient, and they're not providing very good service. They're actually providing abysmal service. We're getting lack of education, potholes, we're getting derelict libraries. Actually, I kind of like the metro parks, but what is our cost per acre? Is it $30 million per acre? I've just made that up to exaggerate. What is the cost and how do we make it more efficient? Because I'm convinced, I'm positive, we could probably cut like 80% of the staffing and cut the salaries back to reasonable. I mean, I think it's reasonable. If somebody is working for the metro parks or something and they're making $250,000 per year, oh, heaven forbid, the idea that somebody should be working for one of those types of organizations and pushing $1 million a year in income, well, we don't have great services resulting, is awful. So to clarify my point, looking at parks on a per acre basis, I think it makes sense. Let's do it. Let's figure out how many acres are owned and controlled by the Metro Park systems and what's their annual budget. Same thing with books and services through the library. How many books, how many services, and what's the cost per service? Can it be reduced? What's the cost per meal for those food banks? Because, and I know I'm throwing a lot out at once, but it occurs to me that our malnutrition and our hunger has increased. The more we pump money into these food banks, it seems like the worse the problem gets. How is that possible? Do we have another circumstance like we have in schools where we have bloated administrative bloated administrative staff at high salaries, not doing the job they could be doing? So all of that brings us back to Doge, and I'm chomping at the bit to find a better way to Doge Ohio.
No, you got it. Well, thank you all tonight. Appreciate it. We will do this again next Sunday, okay? And in the meantime, take care and God bless.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Leonard.
Thanks, everyone.
Good
night.
The games are done.